Good morning. It's Friday. It's always fun to start the Friday. Coffee with Pastor Zach here at Living Waters. Hashtag Living Waters Live. It's always fun because you've made it. You've made it to the end of your week. Breathe it in, friends. Enjoy. We turn to a book you may have heard before. The Book of Romans. I can't help myself. It's just such a rich book. There's so much there. Anyway, chapter 10 this time. I know we like to bounce around a good bit, but yeah, we get to have fun with it. Chapter 10, verse 11. Easy to remember, 10, 11, right? I'll just go ahead and start reading the beautiful prose from St. Paul. No one who believes in him will be put to shame, the scripture says. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek. The same Lord is Lord of all, and is generous to all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Okay, so we're going to stop right here and say, very important. He's setting up the what we call as a chiasm. You have point A, point B, and then together they're stronger. Like chi, like the letter chi, and X. Okay, so anyway, so first thing, this is what Scripture says, that God is the God of all people, and whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Okay, number 2. Now for our second point coming in. But how are they to call on whom they have not believed? Logical point. And how are they to believe in the one whom they never heard? And how are they to hear without someone to proclaim this God, right? So this God is powerful and loving, graceful, and but we have a problem here. No one calling God if they don't know about this God, if they don't know and have witnessed the power of this God. So together, what is the argument you have here, Paul? Let's keep going. And how are they to proclaim him unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are those who bring the good news. Well, we had that passage. But not all have obeyed the good news. Lord, who has believed our message? So faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes from the word of Christ. So, point A, God's amazing. Wow. Change your life. People need to hear God. How can they hear if they don't even know about this God and what's going on and have experienced it in powerful ways? I mean, it's true. There's a disconnect here. So how can we bring them together and powerfully change people's lives at the chiasm, the crossroads, if you will? Outreach. You may have already guessed it, but 3 minutes in, I had to get there. This is what, and he's actually referencing the Isaiah passage we started the week with, right? So even if we have this, it'd be a little like me, a little groundwork underneath our chiasm. This is a classic. How can people know about God if no one reaches out to him? There's this misnomer that people are just going to walk into a church someday because they felt like being there. And that does happen sometimes, don't get me wrong, but Paul's saying it right here. What we've known for 2,000 years is the best way for people to know about God is outreach. Messengers. Shares the good news. People provide this experience and moments and fellowship and all these things that outreach can be. Serving, right? We'll get more into that next week too. Faith comes from what is heard, says Paul. And he's going from what is heard is the word of Christ. Our outreach is living out our faith. Our outreach is living out the teachings of Christ. So for that to be heard, we need to reach out. I love Paul. He's very logical, you know. A plus B equals C. Come on, folks. God's amazing. People need to hear about God. How can we fix this? Well, I think, too, Paul would know about outreach. Under Paul's leadership, the church grew by fits and bounds, you know. It blew up in a good way. And when I look at our time now, we live in a world with so many people who didn't grow up in the church. Don't really know what the church is about except for what they probably have heard, which might not be good things, perhaps. The squeaky wheel gets all the grease, right? I see a church that is bursting with potential, ready to explode in a good way, to reach so many people, to help. There's so many people who need help now. There's so much need in the world. Our outreach is just ready to be primed with impact, a powder keg, if you will. I think the world we live in now is more similar to the world Paul lived in than we realize. And so our outreach needs to look the same. We need to approach it with the same fire, the same logic, the same serving and passion that those early Christians did. And how we do that exactly through serving. Well, I'm going to keep you on a cliffhanger for this Sunday and next week. Have a good one.